Alright, welcome to episode 11 of After Bedtime with Stevan and
Kelsey.
the awkward pause. Forever the pause that is just a little bit too long.
I think it's funny.
As we're recording this, we are currently in the anxiety of the coronavirus pandemic.
Just because we stayed home today does not mean that.
No, I mean, we're not overreacting. I mean, I think we are reacting proportionately, appropriately, but it seems like everyone else around us is kind of losing themselves. Like the toilet paper? What's the deal with the toilet paper?
I don't
understand.
I'm not a good person to ask that because I don't quite understand that. Because I feel like of all things, that is something I'm less worried about.
Yeah, I don't understand why everyone's worried about making sure they have enough paper to clean their butt. It's like forever humans did not use paper to clean their butt. Like there seems like there's so many more
I heard
things.
A conversation of somebody saying that like because somebody mentioned, well, why don't you just get in the shower or something and like wash yourself off and you don't necessarily need toilet paper. Well, then somebody was like, well, what if the water people, like what if there's nobody to like run the plant at the water place? And I was like, if that's the case, if we've gone to that point,
we're in a whole different situation.
Yeah,
we're in a really bad place.
Well, you won't be able to flush your toilet anyway.
Yeah, if the infrastructure of the United States is like suffering, then yeah, there's like
no, but then toilet paper will still make no sense. Yeah, because you will not be able to flush it down a toilet if you have no water to flush the toilet.
Good point. I guess I think they'll just
if you have no water to clean yourself off, you have no water to flush down the toilet.
Yeah, I would just be buying like a lot of dried goods and not.
Yeah, like canned goods, dry goods.
Yeah.
Stuff that.
But
can
like on a serious note, though, I do think that it's good that people are taking it seriously. It just is a little obnoxious. I think that's the problem. I think that a lot of people are. All the memes and the social media around that is just. It's just kind of obnoxious of people to do that. Like, yes, be sure to buy an extra couple weeks of supplies and that sort of thing, but like, you don't need to empty the store.
No.
You know?
And it's sad because you're hearing all these stories now of people who need it, or like elderly people who should probably stock up a little bit more than other people because this virus hurts older people more. It's like you're taking it away from all the people who need it. Like, why are we cleaning out the whole baby wipe section and now you're leaving parents without any wipes, or taking all of this hand sanitizer for what about all the brand new moms that are getting ready to have babies that need hand sanitizer for people coming and visiting?
It's because
or stealing stuff from hospitals.
You know what it is, babe? It's because people are great, but at the same time, people are also kind of sucky. You know?
Well, I think there's a lot of people who are sucky, but I also think there's a lot of good people out there in the world that are genuinely wanting to help people, because I've already seen a whole lot of posts of people like telling people to reach out if they need help, or of all of those schools that are closing down and people are worried about the children who are on free and reduced lunches. Like, there's a business owner in Arkansas making it clear that if just to come to the register, give a polite little whisper that you need help feeding your kid, and they'll give you a free meal.
Yeah, and I think I also think though that's like there needs to be some rationale and some logic around this, in the sense that if we do get to that point, this is not Uganda, this is not Sudan, this is like this is the United States of America. We aren't like a third world developing nation.
Yeah.
If we get to that point, we have the local, state, and federal governments who are in place
but I
to.
think these people were saying because schools are shutting down, and so
No, I know,
that's
but we
where
wouldn't.
a child would normally eat.
No, that makes sense. What I'm saying is like that concern is gonna be addressed. Like if a school is gonna close and they know that
I don't think a lot of places are, at least that's not helping now. Like if they're closing down, and I know spring break was coming up and stuff, but some of these schools are closing down before their spring break. And yeah, there's going to be things put into motion, but how long does it take somebody to get that relief? And as well as how quickly is it going to come into effect in general?
Yeah, I mean,
So I think
I
people
get
are
your
just
point.
reaching out to say that
The
they're there to
logistics,
help.
but like, there's not going to be mass starvation of children.
No,
You know?
yeah, but nobody wants to have a child not go
Yeah,
go without a meal a day.
I agree. I'm just trying to say we should pull from both ends of the, let's be super logical and rational about this, and then let's also think of like every worst case possible scenario. Like, I feel like there's one group of people on the far that side, and there's one group of people on the far other side. I don't know, it's just.
I mean, I think that's in any case.
I know it's late, so don't get grumpy with me. We have about 40 minutes before Cal wakes up to go get into our
I'm
bed.
not a fan.
You're not a fan of doing the podcast?
No, that's
Oh,
not what
man,
I
I'm
meant.
so
I meant like
sad now.
I'm not a fan of that. Like on the days that I stay up late, and then like as soon as I go to bed, all of a sudden he's like crawling in.
Yeah, that's
Which,
his
like,
routine.
I fight with myself about it because I don't want it. I don't want it to end, so I know that I need to appreciate it while it's there, because eventually he's not gonna want to come crawling into our bed at
He's
night.
not going to want to cuddle with you.
But
He'll want to cuddle with me, though. Just not you.
no, here's the thing, buddy, is that whenever they do come crawling into our bed, you come and seek sweet, sweet
It gets hot in
silence.
there with that many bodies.
Well, I had to slightly close our vent because it was drying out my contacts.
Now we get to the root cause.
Yeah. Well, our bed only fits in one section.
All right, so just for the record, though, we're safe from the corona.
Now.
Yeah, for now. And I think like my plan is like hand washing.
Yeah, my hands are. I've been having to lotion my hands up a lot.
Like good hand washing. I think we should limit group activities for a few weeks, more than probably 10 or 20 people, and be very vigilant to not be around other people that are sick.
Well, I also think that we need to take an extra precaution that if any of us are sick, to not go around family who are more at risk than us, because even giving like your grandma a cold is going to weaken her immune system even more.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think the one good thing though is that from everything I've read and heard, it's very low risk for if like we get it, and that like to your point there at the very end about grandma, like if we get it, it's likely going to be like a mild cold, maybe a little bit more worse than what your typical seasonal flu would be, and there's an even greater likelihood that like the kids won't get it. There's very few cases, I think, actually in children.
Especially children under the age of like 5.
Yeah, so I think that's, but we still have to be mindful of we have other people in our lives who could be susceptible.
Yeah.
So we have to.
Of a higher risk.
Yeah, trying to do our part for those people. One thing that's kind of interesting, still related to the coronavirus, is the effect it's had on the economy. The stock market on, I think it was Thursday. It may have been Wednesday or Thursday. It set the record, the greatest single loss in a day on record ever. Worse than the Great Depression, the Great Recession, worse than Black Friday in 1987. That was like the biggest loss. It's kind of crazy. Like, we've been in like 10 or 11 years of just like crazy economic growth, and something like a blip of like something like this can just all of a sudden like cause it to tumble, you know. But
well, I think it's based on fear. It's the United States reacting to how this virus has affected other countries so bad.
Yeah, all the investors are like, look, people are going to stop buying, people are going to stop shopping and going and doing stuff, so let's sell it while it's at its high and get out now. It's crazy. I look at it though like it's two things. One is for people like us, when we're really early on in our financial like lives, this is somewhat an opportunity, because it's like now when we put money into our 401k, it'll basically be like buying everything at discount. So then over time we'll get a much better return.
I mean, we hope.
We will. I'll be optimistic. And then second is like how important it is to have some kind of financial reserve. You know, because like we were talking, like what if you had to be out, like what if some people had to be out of work for like 2 weeks? Like for a lot of people, they are pretty much living 2 weeks to 2 weeks.
Well, not even that. Some people get paid every week. That's like paycheck to paycheck. And what I've seen is I do see a good side of the United States of people trying to come together. Like there's a lot of NBA basketball players that are like putting a whole bunch of money towards like employees of their arenas that they play at to make sure that this time where the NBA is canceled right now, that those employees are still getting paid, which is like amazing, because I mean, like there's so many like really, really rich people in the world, and it's just for them to realize that there's other people in the world that this really, really affects. Like it's not a big deal for some of those people to just, like especially like the basketball players, to take a couple weeks off, but these employees who run the actual arena can't take that time off.
Yeah, I mean that charity and being generous is like amazing, but like as an individual, it's a very stark reminder that things may not always continue going as you think they are going to go. And I think that's like it's super important that like sometimes even when like life is good and you're bringing in good money and you're getting a healthy tax return or whatever, it probably is best to hedge a little bit, because you know that the world kind of goes boom and bust, boom and bust, boom and bust. But for some reason it seems like most people just never figure that out, and like they're always surprised and not in the greatest positions when something like this comes along.
I just think they always think, well, I'll worry about it later.
Yeah.
And then when
I'll
it
just enjoy
gets slapped in their face, they're like, whoa, I didn't realize it was going to be coming this quick. Because like you said, if 11 years of high of the economy, everyone's like, oh
yeah, this is gonna keep rocking and rolling. Not anymore. So coronavirus, big deal, but we're good. We're working through it. I wrote this down on my list, and I actually am having a hard time remembering what jogged this, but I know what I'm talking about. So what I wrote on my list was, nobody really gets it until they are there too. And what I was referencing was really like specifically to parenting. And I'm trying to think, I think I was scrolling through social media and I saw somebody who was preparing to have a baby, and they had a story where they were doing the sonogram for the first sonogram where you see the baby's face and everything. Oh, I know what it was. It was that Netflix food documentary series that I was watching with David Chang. And the first episode is all about him and his wife and their baby and everything. And like David Chang, like his persona or his public persona has always been like very contrarian and very edgy, and like he's like, I don't know, he just is very opinionated and very focused, and like
he can kind of be a blunt
and food and his career like obviously was the biggest part of his life for a long time. But it was kind of interesting watching that episode and seeing how someone so quickly can become so enthralled in that experience.
But also softer.
But like people that are witnessing you having that experience, who haven't had that experience, they can't understand why you're so enthralled with it, or why you're so obsessed with it, or why it's so impactful and changing. But it really is. Like, we know because we experienced it. But like, people may sometimes look at parents and they look at us and they're kind of like I used to think this about one of my bosses, my very first boss at YMCA, Steven Benefield. He used to always tell me that after he had kids, he became like just the biggest softie. Like he cried all the time, and every little thing like got to him that had to do with his kids. And I always thought that was so funny. I always thought that was so funny because that was just never how he was. Like when I really first knew him, and I just couldn't understand how that could do that to you, or how it could make you that way, you know?
Steven, you are the biggest softie when it comes to
I know,
children.
but that's the weird thing. That's why I wrote down the notes. The weird thing is like no one really gets it until.
I know, but I think that's funny because I don't feel like that I was ever like that. Like I feel like I understood it because I've been obsessed with babies and children always.
Yeah, so maybe person to person there is some differences there.
But that also could be is because the way I grew up, there was many stages of children. So like I was a preteen and having another sibling again. So I've always had like babies around me always, or like my cousins, and the age difference between all of us. So that could be why I'm different.
You know what we haven't watched?
What?
We haven't watched an episode of Love is Blind.
No, that's not because of me.
No, it's not because of me either. We just haven't done it.
Okay.
All right, let me add it to the to-do list.
You made it clear that you didn't really want to.
I'm going to add it to the to-do list. I don't have my to-do app on this phone. Anyways, I'll add it to our to-do list for the week. Watch an episode of Love is Blind. We said in a previous episode that we were going to watch.
You agreed to watch 2 of them.
Are you sure?
You're more than welcome to go back, sir.
Okay, I don't want to go back, so I'll just say,
evidence.
Okay, yes, I agreed to watch 2 of them, so we still need to do that. Love is Blind is like a Netflix show that is in the popular zeitgeist, and we said we were going to watch the episode and discuss it on the podcast, but we haven't done that yet. So we need to do that.
It's pretty crazy. I've watched I actually think I've watched the first 2 episodes. But I'm more than happy with going back and watching them again.
Don't ruin it for me. I want to be able to have like a
No, I'm just saying
authentic...
it's insane.
Oh, and speaking of like having a genuine, authentic reaction to it, you finally got to watch Frozen 2 tonight for the first time. Yes. It's on Disney Plus.
Well,
I'm such a Disney Plus hater.
The biggest thing, well, it's so funny to me that he acts this way because he literally married Disney. He married fairy tales and Disney and Harry Potter lover. Like that's literally
the
me.
The only benefit of that subscription is the MCU. That's the only benefit of it.
That's not true because me and the kids watch it daily. So
I'm
that's a
thinking
benefit.
Selfishly.
Anyway, originally Disney was not going to release it until July. And then in the grand scheme of things and the virus and all that type of stuff and people having to be quarantined or like kids being out of school, Disney rushed it to be released this weekend.
There Disney goes, just grabbing an opportunity to market itself.
No, that's not true at all. I think they were like, there's going to be a lot of parents at home and they need this, is what Disney said.
That's so funny. Like, I'm like, oh, Disney just taking advantage.
I'm just saying, this whole little snippet literally rounds up our personalities all in like one little swoop. But anyways, I watched it for the very first time because I am turned into kind of a firm believer of not taking small toddlers to the movies.
No, I agree. Let's stop here for a second before you give your Frozen 2 impression. Hold on. Like, this is a good topic. Taking toddlers to movies.
I think that some people can do it. And the very first time we took Cal, well, really the first couple times we took Cal, he was perfectly fine.
Yeah, when he didn't watch it and couldn't sit up.
That's not true, because when we went to go see The Grinch, he watched the whole entire thing and he clapped and he was excited at the end of it and he was telling everybody goodbye after it. Like, he was aware.
I don't remember this.
You don't remember going and seeing The Grinch?
No, I don't.
That was like one of the greatest memories I have
probably
with him.
vlogged it though, so I'm sure I can.
He loved it.
Yeah, but like after that, I just like I don't see the value in it.
Well, it's just because of how expensive the tickets are and like the whole experience is. If it was cheaper, like I mean, when we were younger and we had, well, what my family would call the sticky theaters.
Yeah, the 50 cent.
Yeah, like the
50
cheap
cent movie. Tuesdays were 50
seats.
cent. Yeah.
Yeah, if you had something like that, then yeah, I could see the benefit of it. But
it's just too expensive,
it's
and
too
he
expensive.
doesn't have the attention span.
On certain things, he does.
Especially because
if he's in the right state of mind to watch the movie and he wants to watch the movie,
I say that
he will.
because, like, kind of when you guys came to work to visit me this week, the environment is far more interesting than any piece of content, right? Because he's at this place and there's all these people and there's all this stuff.
He also didn't realize that our movie theater had a whole arcade
and he
section.
knows there's an arcade up there.
So when we went to go watch Toy Story 4, that's all he could think about was those games up there.
So the environment is just way more stimulating. So it's like...
And Kyler probably would have sat through it because he loves Toy Story, but the thought of you and Cal going and doing something, the FOMO kicked in on him, and he lasted about like 30 minutes and was like, I need to go. Which is funny because I kind of jokingly always say that that's the Graves part in him, because all of us Graves are always constantly like, well, if they're going to go do something fun, I want to go with them. So we're always like, we always congregate together and are always together because we're all being fun together, and we won't go to bed because there's so many stories of us falling asleep, like all of us kids just falling asleep everywhere because we were just so enthralled and wanting to be a part of it.
You know, even going to the movies in general, so like I think we're both on the same page with the toddler thing, but even going to the movies in general, like growing up, that was, and like going with my mom and Jericho, that was always something I really enjoyed, and it's still an activity I really enjoy to do. But when I look at like the cost versus value, it's like I would much rather rent the movie for $5.99 at home in like the comfort of my own home with my own snacks and like watch it. Like that has so much.
I think we need to make more of an effort of doing that, because I kind of even think that if it would be, Cal would get even more excited if we made some sort of like little fort in the living room and rented a movie and ate popcorn.
It's the cost value.
But I don't.
It's out of hand at the movies.
But I'm saying that the reason why you are like, you remember such great times doing that is because it was something that you and your family did together.
But it is fun. I mean, sometimes it's fun to like be there and experience it with a group of people and to be like some of the first people.
Maybe when he's like older.
But it's like, I mean, to take two people to the movies and spend $40, that's just crazy money.
Yeah.
That's crazy money. That's just this highway robbery.
We need to take a family of 4. It's like $80.
We need to get back to like the cheap seat theater thing, because that's like realistic, you know.
Yeah, but in this day and age, it wouldn't survive.
It'll never happen.
I mean, I'm sure our Regal movie theater is struggling, even at the prices that they. Like that subscription that everybody in our family joined into, of where you paid a monthly
the movie
thing.
pass, that went bankrupt. It folded
quickly.
Yeah, of course it did. Like $10, you can watch as many movies as you want. Yeah, you know what's going to happen. Like theaters are going to sign up for it, and then like they're going to realize real quickly they're losing money in this agreement, and so then they pull out, and then the movie pass company is like, oh well, you can't go there now, and oh you can't go there now, and all of a sudden people are like, well, why do I even have this movie pass if I can't go to my own theater? And they can't, it didn't in concept it makes like, oh, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
But then execution, you're like, that's not going to work.
I just wonder what everyone was thinking of, if they thought it was.
I think
that
they
people
thought
they were going to do it, or that they were going to make a lot of money on concession.
That's what I thought. I think the theaters probably thought their back end on it was. Excuse me. The theaters probably thought their back end was concessions because they already make their margin on that crap.
Somebody like me that would buy the pass to go to the movies, but then I would bring all of my own snacks.
Yeah,
anyway.
Totally. And then I think then the movie pass company thought that they would eventually reach a level of scale to where they would be able to start covering their overhead and covering their costs and probably kicking back something to those partnerships. But yeah, the movie theaters aren't going to hold out that long for them to reach scale.
Well, I mean,
especially if they're not seeing people making purchases.
Movie theaters are already struggling in general because, like you said, a lot of people would just prefer to stay at home and rent the movie versus going to a movie theater. Or even like us, that I'm like, I knew.
Well, now the movie theaters are tanking because coronavirus is like.
Steven, stop talking about it. Everyone's tired of everyone talking about it. But like I'm saying in my case of like we didn't go and take the boys to go see Frozen 2 or buy Frozen 2 or rent it because I knew eventually it was going to be on Disney Plus.
Yeah, you know what? But that's funny because you were complaining like now we're running into it. Even the benefits of like digital subscriptions and stuff. Now we're running into.
There's too many. Like, I mean, I like them, and there's even, it's just trying to decide what you actually want or need type thing. Because, yeah, I would like to have Nickelodeon subscription thing because there's a handful of stuff that the boys like to watch on there. But that's just another thing, and it's like, are my boys really going to watch that much Nickelodeon when we already have a full library of Disney Plus? And it's like, it's one of those things that you have to kind of weigh out.
Oh, I hear a baby stirring or struggling.
He's up.
What's he doing? Oh no.
That's what I was trying to say, is that Kyler's now doing it too.
We're going to have a brief intermission.
Kai, lay down.
To address the struggling toddlers. I always feel bad for them when they get like that, you know?
Well, I mean, they have like runny noses and stuff, and it doesn't help anything.
Now we're gonna the whole time we're gonna be like, oh, I heard something. I totally get your point though about all the different subscriptions. I see it as a plus though, because it really is going to drive competition, which is going to make for great content, because they know the only way to get someone to go from Disney Plus to Netflix, or from Netflix to HBO Now, or from HBO Now to Showtime Anytime, is great original content that you can only
see that, but
get.
I also see a lot of those subscription-based things linking up with people, like how Hulu jumped on Disney Plus's train. That was probably the smartest thing that Hulu's ever done, because Hulu, I personally don't have a lot of shows or stuff I watch on Hulu, or just maybe because we've been so far removed from cable for so long that a lot of the shows I was watching on Hulu are pretty much coming to an end now, or they've gotten to the point of where I just don't want to watch them anymore, or I don't see a benefit in them. So I feel like there's going to be a lot more of these subscription people that are out there linking up to where it's like one monthly thing versus like all of these monthly things.
Then you're just going down the road to cable again.
That's not true.
You know, an a la carte kind of version of cable, in my opinion. You know,
but I would totally buy into that.
What I like about
like
it,
I think Sling TV has an awesome idea. I just don't like the way they're doing it.
what I like about it is I think that it puts for the longest time in terms of creating content was the distribution companies, like the television networks. They kind of had all the leverage, right? Like you had to go to them and pitch your idea, right? And they decide, yeah, we'll go with it, or no, we won't. They kind of hold all the power.
I'm not saying that every single one of them are going to link up.
No, I know that, but I think that's what I'm saying is now that you have these, even if they do link up, I still think that now these distribution, the new distribution like Hulu, Disney Plus, Netflix, ESPN Plus, they all now know that the thing that's going to draw more subscribers is good content.
Yeah.
So now the content creators have the leverage because if that content's good, they're all going to be vying for it, and that the creator of the content is the one who's going to get all the upside, like they should have all the time, because they're the ones really bringing the value, in my opinion, right? Like the distribution is valuable, like that's important, but it's also kind of commodity. Anyone can do it, right? Not everyone can make a great show like The Mandalorian or make a great show like The Outsiders or anything like that. Not
you
everyone.
say The Mandalorian, but for a minute there you were like,
I'm still on The Mandalorian.
I think the last episode kind of brought it all in together. I mean, I do feel like they drug it out. There was a lot of episodes where I was like, that could have been, all of those episodes could have been like smashed into one episode. But I do like the series.
Yeah, it was good.
I would actually say one of my favorite series that I'm actually very, very excited about is The Witcher.
The Witcher. I can't. It's just
You didn't actually watch it, though.
There's something about the
Carnival Row.
There's something about the production of it that I'm like, this seems way too corny, way too cheesy.
It's not.
I'm gonna try reading the books first.
It's not. You need to. It's really not. Like, I thought that in the first couple episodes, and then all of a sudden I was like, almost done with the season. And I'm like, no. Because became obsessed. I'm saying The Witcher, Carnival Row, I'm excited for those. I'm patiently waiting for Sherlock to come back.
I just got done watching 2 series that are really good, but they're not up your alley at all, but they're very good. The Outsiders on HBO, which is based on a Stephen King book, so right away I know you're like, I'm out.
Yep.
But it actually, like, I thought like it was going to be scary, but it really is more of like supernatural. It's more like Supernatural, like that show. Mm-hmm. It's not really.
Well, then why is that not up my alley?
Because the way it's like shot and told.
Is it darker?
It's darker because it's about like this. It's basically about this supernatural force that feeds on people, and it in particular feeds on children.
Oh yeah.
And but like they fight it, and they eventually
See, I feel like Supernatural does it so beautifully because there is scary things,
but they keep it light.
But they with Dean and Sam, it's such a fun relationship to watch.
My second one was actually it just got released on Netflix, and that was the Valhalla Murders, and it's a Icelandic television or series on Netflix. It's a Netflix original, but it's all in Icelandic is what it was originally made in. And the story.
Sure this whole conversation right now is making people like, how in the world did those two ever?
Yeah, we get along good though.
I also think there's a lot of common ground that we do have together.
What's funny though
is
people may be like, why would you want to watch that? It's like it's in Icelandic and it's like kind of scary because of the murder thing. But the real reason why I watch it is because I think Iceland is so pretty. And it's like the whole thing is shot there, so it just has like some of the greatest like picturesque.
I
like the
used
cinematography
to watch
of
this
it.
kind of stuff, but now I can't.
I know. I know when one of our very first dates was going to try to watch Saw, like 4 or something like that, and they wouldn't let us into the theater.
Because you were too young.
And I'm sure as hell know that was not my idea to go watch a scary movie.
I don't remember why it would have been mine either, because what's so crazy is how I am as a person. I don't like being scared. I don't enjoy it. But for some reason, when I was younger, I was almost drawn.
I can do
to
scary though, like
movies.
I don't like horror scary, but like I like Criminal Minds, and I
used to like all of that too, but now I can't watch.
But I can't watch those things at night though, because it gets me really paranoid.
Criminal Minds gets me paranoid.
Supernatural will make me paranoid like that at night.
Supernatural.
All those eerie kind of things. They get me like.
I probably could still watch Supernatural and be fine, and like NCIS, I can watch that because it's lighter.
All right, we have to bring this back to something relevant to this. What our podcast is supposed to be about. We got down this weird best shows.
You're the one that did it.
I will take responsibility.
And you didn't even let me give any source of review for it.
Oh yeah, okay. 2. Before I move on to another topic, please share your thoughts on it.
I think it's better than the first one.
Oh no, you liked the Disney movie? Oh, that's surprising.
No, don't come at me, bro. I'm sure there's Disney movies that I don't like, but I legitimately do think that it is better than the first one. I was shocked that I enjoyed it so much. Just everything on the back end of it is amazing and beautiful, and like it even kind of touches base on like grief and almost anxiety a little bit about how just do the right thing. Just take another step and do the next nice thing, and you will eventually get through it. I love that. And also, what's funny?
Love that. I know you would love
what's
that.
Also funny is that when Disney announced,
goodness, I married Disney.
When Disney announced that they were going to be releasing it this weekend, somebody quoted the movie and was like, "You're just doing one nice thing."
Like my favorite part of the whole time you guys were watching it was when Elsa was singing and Kyler was like doing the same action.
It's because of me.
And he was like trying to sing like her.
He was like into the unknown, but because he's still so little, the words are all jumbled up. But you could tell that because of his actions, that's what he was like trying to do.
The family is so animated. All right, so I have a good parenting topic to talk about. So one thing that's been going on with Cal lately is, before I go there, I was gonna tell you were talking about like the feelings of it all, and the mental wellness part of the Frozen thing. Is one of my favorite YouTubers her name's Iz Harris. She started a merch line, a feelings merch line, and it's just like, like T-shirts and beanies and hoodies and stuff.
What did they say?
Just like feelings, like just like like with like kind of like cursive. Tag.
One.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of a cool idea for merch. Anyways, so one of Cal's favorite YouTubers is Adley. Yes. And A for Adley, and she does app reviews. And
yes.
So his newest thing is like he has these apps that he wants to buy for his iPad, and they're pretty cool. Like they're fun. They're cool. What I like about them is they're super. The usability of the app is super scaled down to what his kind of motor functions are and what he can do on the iPad with one finger.
Well, it's not like exact. So like if he drags something over there, it gets what he's wanting to do versus like him having to exactly pinpoint it in there, which a lot of games for adults are.
All the apps just require a finger.
Yeah.
And everything he wants to do in the app, what's kind of cool is like it's all very self-led in the sense that he can just like touch something and it's interactive and he can do what he wants to with it, and what you're able to do is kind of it surprises you.
Well, even
like
that town what is it? Boca. Now I forgot the name of it. But I like watching him play that because it's just these little people, and he can put them in the grocery store. They can buy groceries, but he's making them do all that, and then they can go back home, and he's like talking for them, like, oh hi dad, and like stuff like that. So he's like doing these interactions and stuff on his iPad, which is like so stinking cute because it's very similar of like a little kid playing with Barbies and having like a full conversation.
That's been one of my struggles with him in gaming is like cognitively he's advanced enough to like grasp the concept of more complex like game mechanics.
Yeah.
You know, than some of the stuff like some of that stuff he has had like the matching and the puzzles and that sort of thing is good. But like it's not, it's not drawing his attention anymore, in the way it still does Kyler. And so like now that he's found these other games, I love that because it matches like more complexity with still allowing him to interact with the game and not get frustrated because he can't really yet do the joysticking and the multiple buttons, you know, like on the Switch.
He does amazing on the Switch.
Well, he does better, but like still like driving Mario Kart,
well,
he
I
has
think
to
that
have the assist features and
yes, and I also think that biggest issue is that he still somehow keeps pulling up like the menu option, and he's accidentally clicking those assist features off. But I would say with how little he is and how well he does in some of those,
but you know what I mean, like
it
gets frustrating because like he can't do it all himself, and so then like he's constantly, you know, he's like dad, mom, you know, and it's like,
yeah, but that should be expected. He's 3.
No,
when did you start playing
get it,
video
but you
games?
it's also nice to be able to have him have a game that he can play and have fun with without it just being nothing but frustration.
Yes, I agree, but even sometimes those games, like if you don't pay for the full version, they give you those like ads type thing, and he'll click onto the ad and then it takes him to a whole different thing. So I mean, there's still some frustrations.
Yes.
With even those.
Yes, always and never are not things we say.
No. I don't like it.
Yeah. The reason why I brought that up though was like video gaming and kids is kind of like cultural. It's kind of like that whole screen time discussion. It's like, do you let your kids play video games? If you do, what kind of video games? Do you restrict it to a certain type or a certain level of violence or no violence? And so like I just wanted to like, what's your kind of feeling on that? What do you think about video games for kids?
Me?
Yeah. Or like when we grew up, you know, my parents were always they weren't anti video games, but they were kind of like, if there's nothing else that you should or could be doing, it's like, okay, that's an okay pastime.
My parents were gamers, so, and I know that might be shocking to some people to think that my mom was. But Nintendo 64 Zelda was like,
and like and like my parents bought us. Neither of my parents really played video games. Like
both of mine.
My dad probably played like Sega and Atari and stuff. But then once like
my mom at the bingo thing that we went to, she remembered the original Zelda, like her and my dad playing that, and I thought she was like psycho when she said the name because I was like, that's
on
not
like the
thing.
Super Nintendo or something.
Yeah, it was like The Legend of Link or something like that before Zelda came out, and I'm like, that's not a game. Like totally 100% knocking her down. She's like, Kelsey, I swear playing that with your dad all the time, and then she like pulled it up and it was like real, and it like shocked even me because just it still shocks me sometimes to think that my mom did that. And my mom would still probably enjoy games if she had kept playing because she loved playing Zelda with us all the time. I mean, both of my parents were probably bigger gamers.
So like you grew up, we both grew up in like households that didn't really, well, your household was probably more pro gaming and my household was probably like more like, we don't really care that much about it one way or the other. But if you guys want video game, like, we're fine with that. Like, they would
I
buy
think my
us
parents were more
GameCubes
pro of it, but I also think that there was a lot of discussions being had. I think my dad was a little bit more lenient with the games just because he played them, so he didn't really see a big issue. I do know that for a while my mom hid Grand Theft Auto from Tyler and Caleb for like a very long time.
Yeah, like that's obviously like what's the right. That's obviously, I think, the biggest discussion around gaming. Like, I think a lot of people don't have like a.
I think it's to each his own, like each parent's discretion.
It's got to be. I think my personal view is I'm very pro. Like, I'm pretty optimistic and pretty pro towards that stuff. I think
if it's enriching their life, if it's bringing some sort of value to them.
Well, yeah,
I like it.
No, totally. I'm thinking more of like in terms of like Grand Theft Auto. Like, I think that
I don't feel like Grand Theft Auto actually brings anything to someone's life.
No, but like even first-person shooters, like I love Call of Duty, the Call of Duty franchise, and a lot of people would argue that that's not.
But there's studies that show that people who play those games are actually not more in depth to be more violent.
No, yeah, I know, and that's what I mean is like I think that there's a lot. I think there's two things. There's two the way I look at it, or I separate it. There's two things there's the content and the media of the video game that in my opinion, you have to evaluate it similar to how you would evaluate movies or television or other types of content that you would expose your kid to, with the offset that these are graphics. They're not real depictions of these things. They are still virtual.
Yes.
You know, and your kid can see that, and you can have that discussion that this is not real. This is pretend. This is play. This is not. You know, it's like our kids play with. You know, they play with Nerf guns. They play with toy guns. Like, this is play. This is not real. We don't really do this in real life. You know what I mean? Like, you can. To me, that is a fair and real discussion to have with your kid, especially when you're talking about video games.
Well, it's also very interesting because even when we watch some shows and stuff, Cal is always asking who the bad guy is. Like, he's already has made it clear in his head that in these movies there's always a bad guy.
Yeah, he's like caught on to the archetypes of like there's good and bad, and there's conflict, and there's light and dark.
Like, we watched Angry Birds 2 the other day, and he was like, the pigs are the bad guys, right? And it was like hard to explain that, well, not in this movie. They were in the first one, but they're not bad guys now. And like, he's just already caught on to even that kind of stuff. That shocks me because I'm like, he's only 3. How is he?
Yeah, he's good.
He's smart.
He is smart. I think too. Then the second side for video games for me is like I see like what value they add to people's life. Like, once you get through the content and the censoring and the like viewer discretion advice type of stuff, once you get through that, I think there's a lot of value to be gained from video games and different types of video games. And like, to your point, like in first person shooting, even in that realm, I would make the argument that there's a lot to be gained in terms of like empathy and strategy.
That was actually part of the study, is that they found that people who play those games actually have more empathy than people who don't play those games.
And like I would totally like anecdotally believe that, because like to be successful at those games, you have to think like your opponent, and it's like chess. You almost have to like anticipate what the other player is going to do and where they're going to go and where they're going to be, to have a step on them, right? Otherwise, you're always going to be reacting.
But also, kind of like in some of those games, it teaches team. Like, you're working as a team,
and then in terms
to do
like
something.
You get that strategy of like how to communicate. Like, communication's a big one. Like, everyone learns to use the same words to describe things, and everybody learns to use the same words to like reference where they're at into this and where somebody is.
It's the same stuff that you kind of get in sports.
Yeah, similar. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think, I think that's probably like maybe the third layer to this for our kids' generation that wasn't there really from at least for my generation as someone who played video games is like that gaming is really a viable sport and it's a viable
and it's growing
future. Like you can have a future in gaming, not just from a not just like from an infrastructure, like not just like a person who writes the code and designs the game, like and markets and sells the game.
Like you can actually have a career
playing games. Like you can play competitively, or you can play just to create content for other people to watch. And I think that like I'm pretty sure I'm saying this correctly, but gaming as an industry is larger than all of the music industry and all of the movie industry put together. It's bigger.
I would believe that.
It's kind of crazy to think about that, but
well, what's even more insane to think about is that like because I watch a lot of Gary Vee stuff now too, is that he made a comment that like imagine if our parents would have encouraged them more on the backside of video games, where gaming would be now.
Yeah, I know, and that's
because he was like, if it wouldn't have been like, stop being a child, stop doing that. If it would have been embraced,
and that's kind of
like esports could have already been a thing.
And that's kind of like what I mean by like in our household, video games they weren't bad, but it was kind of like, look, if you have homework you need to do, you should be doing your homework, not playing games, or if you need to practice for this, or you need to prepare for that, or video games was kind of like the acceptable thing to do. Only if and when there wasn't something better you could be doing.
And what's funny is that, like, I do think my parents obviously did that same thing of making it clear that this is a luxury, you do it after the thing you want to do. But that was, like, something we did as, like, family time. Mm-hmm. Like, especially, like, I don't really remember playing games after the 64, like after stuff came out after the 64 with my mom, but with my dad, every time we were there for the weekend, it was like one of the things we did the whole entire time.
And I think for our
it's
kids,
a lot of memories that we have. For
our kids, I think that's why like it should be something like to consider. Like if your kid or if one of our kids likes games and is excelling at games and is doing good, like it isn't something that we should like kind of push it aside or nonchalantly put off, because there is a really viable future world in that.
Well, I think it's just in general, if your child finds something that they enjoy so much in life, don't downplay it as something that because I'm sure there's a way you can make a career out of many different things that people 100%. Don't think you can.
Yeah. Especially in the 21st century. Like, I mean, obviously, like our grandparents in 1930,
yes, it was understandable.
Like you couldn't just follow your passion and make a living out of talking about NBA, or the NFL or MLB. Like that just wasn't. There was not a market for that. There wasn't platforms for that.
But also the other argument could be is that if people would have been encouraged to follow their passion more, maybe it could have been invented a lot sooner.
Maybe, but like but in today's world, like now those rules have changed. And to your point is, you can make a living out of any passion in any way, shape, or form.
You just gotta hustle.
Yeah, and if it is your passion, you'll hustle regardless because you love it. Like you don't care because you love it and you're willing to suffer for it, so you don't really care what it takes. You know, it's when you have to hustle and do stuff for something you're not in love with, then it becomes work. Then it becomes like a chore and it becomes a burden. We have to be careful about. That goes back to that whole. We have to be careful about parenting our kids
in a digital age.
Well, yeah, we're basically parenting our kids with a game plan that was made for a world they're not going to live in, right? Kind of like we were. Like we were very much parented with a very specific game plan, and then. But
they also, like, they were aware that the world was changing, but they didn't realize it was going to change at this gravity.
Probably not. And then it shifted in the middle of all that. It shifted, and for the most part, the plan still worked out all right. But it probably didn't. It probably left a lot of kids feeling somewhat ill prepared and lost and unsatisfied with where they ended up.
Yeah.
In comparison to maybe where they feel like they could have ended up. It's like, well, in hindsight, what if I had, then I would be. And I mean, hindsight's always 20/20, right? But yeah, I don't know. I think
he says, "Don't worry about it."
Yeah, right. You'll never know the other
you
choice.
Make your decisions. Keep going forward.
Yeah. I'm glad this episode my nose didn't attack me like last episode. I'm pro video games, so I think our kids should play
video games as well. But also, I think the other benefit that we kind of have over maybe even some other parents is the fact that we enjoy games, and so
it doesn't feel, the culture doesn't feel as foreign to us.
No, and also it's we'll know what games we're comfortable with the children playing, because most likely we'll play it with them or have played it before.
Yeah.
And so we'll know what we feel comfortable with. Because I like, obviously, Cal can't play Call of Duty by himself right now. It's too much. But I'd like to introduce him to Zelda and like all of those games. But I even kind of think, just part of me thinks that sometimes with how advanced his little mind is, he kind of gets scared easier almost, because he understands what's going on a little bit better. And I mean, he got scared watching The Lion King the other day, and I was like, dude, it's The Lion King.
I used to think Lion King was scary as a kid. I
get it.
I still don't like it. For some reason, when I watch that movie,
it makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's like I'm having that same feeling that I had when I was a kid, like the scariness of it. I don't know why I have that.
The part that made Cal uncomfortable was when Scar was singing with the hyenas, when it was all dark and stuff like that. That made him uncomfortable.
I don't like it. Let's just go back to how great The Lion King is. I didn't like it when Scar straight up murdered Mufasa. Just murdered him. Threw him off a cliff and let him get run over.
Which is the other shocking thing, is that I'm remembering like the joy I had of watching
his son witness.
No, but I know, and I get it now. But like when I went to go watch it with him, I was just remembering me enjoying this movie as a child, and then I'm watching it, and then he's asking me questions, and I'm like, oh crap! Like maybe I should have thought this through, because he was like, what happened? Why did he let go of him?
Yeah, it's so funny. We are so in the stage of why with Cal.
Oh yes.
Why? You see all those memes, and you see movies where they kind of play that joke, that cultural joke, and
be like, why
it's a real
thing. Sad?
It's a real phenomenon.
I literally had to do the whole quick thinking of, do I just go ahead and have this conversation with him, or what do I do here? I mean, majority of my mindset is just to go ahead and have the conversation with him, because majority of the time he either loses interest in the middle of the conversation, or he kind of just understands and moves on from it. It's not something that, because I don't ever want him to be scared.
Parenting lesson: don't traumatize your kid with Lion King until you've discussed the finer points of life and death.
Well, I mean, that's almost in every single Disney movie. I mean, in Fox and the Hound, the mom gets shot, and Bambi, the mom dies. There's just multiple situations of where I'm realizing now, watching it with my kids, that I'm like, there's a lot of questions that come about with these things that I don't remember asking my parents during these movies.
I guess somebody does teach us everything.
No, not that. Obviously somebody does that, but I don't remember.
No, I know.
Watching these movies, I don't remember thinking.
Not every piece of knowledge.
But also, I guess maybe I was older when I was watching some of these things. So, when I saw, we were already pre-teens whenever we saw Lion King.
Yeah, but to your point, not every piece of knowledge we have is tied specifically to a conversation. Not everything we hold in our mind that we know can we trace back to where exactly did that piece of knowledge come from.
Yeah.
But really, probably at some point, we probably asked a question. Now.
I'm sure my mom was like, yes, the first time you watched that movie, you asked a gazillion questions, because I'm the queen of why.
Now we're experiencing it firsthand. I've kept you up past midnight tonight.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
So I guess to end, how do you feel like your 2020 is going so far? Are you happy with
How
it?
is mine, or
Yeah,
like
how's your 2020
how's
going so
2020
far?
as a
Because
whole?
we're almost through the first quarter.
I
2
kind of
weeks
feel
away.
like,
2
to
weeks
quote my cousin the other day posting on Facebook, I kind of feel like just 2020 needs to be unplugged and plugged back in.
Reset.
Yeah. When she posted that, I laughed so hard. She was like, has anybody tried unplugging and plugging us back in?
That's the way you solve everything. You just reset it, right?
Yeah.
It's like when IT guys you're like, why is this doing? They're like, just reset it.
Which I also think that's funny that in this day and age that's still asked. Which I guess there's still a majority of people who wouldn't have thought that. But I'm like, I would say maybe 65 to 70% of people have already tried that. And it's almost kind of annoying when they ask me that sometimes. But I mean, now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't think to unplug it.
There's a lot of people who don't think to do a lot of things, that's for sure. My 2020 is doing pretty good. This last week was the first week where I kind of felt a little bit like I took an L. It was just work
We've gone over an hour.
Yeah, I know, but it's just the schedule was so our schedule feels busy to if even the slightest increase in work, it just causes the schedule to run off the rails sometimes.
I'm sorry. That sucks.
But I feel like we got back on track towards the end of the week.
Yeah, we had a couple little tit for tat snaps, but
I feel good. I mean, we've been riding the bike, we're doing the podcast, we haven't missed an episode yet. Saving money, paying off debt, so 2020 is doing good.
Well, ours right now is. I don't think 2020 as a whole is doing very well.
That's good. That's good. I heard something the other day. If you make more than, I forget what the figure was. It was if you make more than 30 or 40,000, or maybe it was less than that. If you make something like that annually, roughly annually, you're in the top 1% of earners of the world.
What?
Yeah. Of the world. Isn't that crazy? That's how, one, it's crazy to think that's how disproportionately better off we are in the U.S. than the rest of the world. If you can earn what we all would think is little money, what we would think is poverty, as a poverty line.
Yeah.
And you beat the vast majority of other people. It's well, we have nothing to complain about, right? It's you can't live in, I don't know, you can't live in Darfur and the coronavirus outbreak goes and your first concern be, I need to buy all the toilet paper off the shelves. You know what I mean? It's just so different, the perspective other people have versus us. So, anyways, I'm getting tired. Are you getting tired?
I've been tired.
All right.
I was tired when you started it.
Well, we had fun. Hope you guys enjoyed episode 11.
Yep.
Episode 11. And we'll be back again. But until then, go to our Instagram. Mine is Stevan.Freeborn. Kelsey's is KFreeborn412. And yes, follow us. But more importantly, leave us a comment or send us a message about what you've liked about our episodes or this episode and what maybe you'd like to see in future episodes.
Or what you didn't like and what you'd like us to change. I mean, we'll listen to anything, but if you're rude.
All we can really do is take it in and just try to work on it.
Under advisement.
Yeah, take it under advisement and then just scream F you right back at you.
If it's mean. I mean, if it's something reasonable and I'm oh, I didn't realize I was being that annoying.
Yeah, just
understandable, but
no, but yeah, just give us some feedback.
Nah, but yeah.
Nah, but yeah. All right, let's go to bed. Good night.
Night.